2, 1. From Boston, Massachusetts to Adelaide, Australia, and everywhere in between. Talking local and national sports and just about anything discussed in a tavern. Broadcasting from South Lyon, Michigan. Welcome to Easyspeak at Speakeasy 330 with your hosts, Rich and Tom.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Tom. This is the Easyspeak podcast, and we got a special one for you tonight. Obviously, we're going to talk Tigers. We're going to talk some NHL and NBA playoffs. And then our special guest, Matt Cowan. He's a former minor league baseball umpire and current Ironman athlete. He's got a really good story to share. And he's going to be kicking off our new segment called Misunderstood, and it's going to focus on men's mental health and different issues that, you know, men face on a daily basis. Obviously, guys sometimes feel they don't have enough gusto to really, you know, come out and acknowledge they have a problem. So our goal is to try and help somebody in need. If that is the case, tell them that they're not alone and maybe teach them that it's okay to come out and express themselves a little bit more than they normally would. So with that being said, we're going to bring on our co-host and shocker tonight, Rich Jasper. Wasn't sure if you were going to be here, but baseball, but you showed up before the Giant, and that was shocking. Good to have you, Rich. What's going on?
Yeah, the baseball gods were not in our favors either, and I'm kind of glad that we have a former MiLB umpire, so I can either sit here and torch an umpire or ask a question or two. So, the gods weren't with us today, and we'll be back on the field later this week, so it's no big deal.
Well, that's good. That's good. And you know what that means.
I wish I had my own.
It's been a couple weeks. And no, his internet is not fixed. He's coming live from his iPhone.
JP, wow.
What's up?
Oh, what a sellout, dude. Hey, Matt, have you ever took a 96-mile-an-hour walk-off fastball to the mask?
Not quite.
Oh, what a weekend!
We'll hit on that. I've got the video queued up. But did Haas really want to catch that ball? That was interesting.
I think one guy said slider and the other said sinker.
That's probably their communication button. They hit the wrong button. So
and they buzzed the tower.
Yes, they did for sure. So we'll start with that. The Tigers, man, you talk about a roller coaster. One weekend they're playing good ball and they're right in the middle of it all, and then by the next weekend they're 6-7 games out of 500, and you got injuries abound, and that's just the way this team's going to go. I see the young guys. Their pitching was really good this weekend, and 3 runs all weekend. So that's a huge problem, but. We're going to start with the injury. I guess the big one that this probably could affect most of the season, what I would gather. Riley Green with the stress fracture. I was reading today that it wasn't as bad as they had originally thought. But, I mean, that's something you don't want to rush back. JP, how big of an impact is this injury for the Tigers?
Yeah, so the injury itself is actually a stress reaction. It's the one step before the stress fracture. But I mean, it's a huge injury. You watch the games this weekend. I mean, you're hoping for a hit out of McKinstry or Baez or Torque. I think they had 4 guys in the lineup today under 200 batting average. I mean, the 3 runs for the weekends. It just speaks for itself. I think he was their shining star, the bright spot to the team, so it's a crushing blow to lose him.
Yeah, Rich, what do you think? I mean, is this something we're going to see with Riley Green? This is year 2, and this is another, pretty big injury that it's missing time.
Well, if you remember last week when we were discussing, we were raving about how well he's really kind of came into his own, and he starts stinging the ball and giving us some run support, and then this happens, and one of the things that we contributed last year with is his slow start, because of his injury, when he came back. So it's going to be tough to overcome that, but nobody expected them to compete for titles this year. So
no.
Take the time, don't rush back. We're not going to win. We're not going to go and win the pennant this year or anything like that. So let's just take a step.
Just don't be like Oakland. What have they got? 14 wins all year, which is pretty bad.
Because Oakland doesn't care because they're like,
they're heading to Sin City in a couple years. So the other injury we've got hit with is Eduardo Rodriguez, an index finger on his throwing hand. That's never a good thing. I guess the biggest issue here is the thought process is he's not going to be here by trade deadline. How much does this impact what value he might get? Rich, we'll start with you.
It all depends on how his recovery goes. And what's amazing is everybody's like, oh, it's a finger injury. People outside of baseball really don't understand exactly how much pressure and force that pitchers put and torque and spin on the ball. And a lot of it just comes with wrist and fingers, right? And it's, Matt could probably tell you he sees it from the other side of the dish, right? But, you squeeze harder on your index finger, the ball will move one way. If you squeeze harder out with your middle finger, it'll go, you'll tail the other way. So, those injuries, those are things you just don't want to rush back on. So, I think this right here, the value of him absolutely just plummets, right now. And they might have a hard time dealing them, or if they do deal them, they're not going to get what they'd get if they were striking gold, right now before his injury.
JP, do you agree that an injury to especially the index finger, which, a lot of your movement, a lot of your motion comes from that particular finger. Are we going to be seeing Erod in a Tiger uniform after the trade deadline?
Yeah, so I was reading that the injury is actually common in bowlers and rock climbing, which is pretty odd. But I think if anything here, it makes it easier to trade him with series with Arizona, Philly, and Atlanta coming up. They're going to be staring 15 games under 500 dead in the face in no time. So you're not going to be,
especially the way Arizona's been playing.
Yeah, and you're not going to be in the central race here soon. I think it's easier now to dump all your assets and try to get what you can for him, especially with his option at the end of the year. And he's with a contending team, he'll be ready down the stretch, no problem. I think the injury is about 6 weeks, so I think it'll be easier to offload him because they're not gonna win these next 3 series.
Yeah, you don't see that coming. Although they are 9-1 against NL teams, but not this NL team. But
the return is not going to be. What we hope, right? It's definitely not going to be what we hoped it would be.
Yeah, at this point, though, you just want something, though,
Yeah, true.
Get something worthwhile. Don't get fleeced.
Yeah.
But we're gonna show the infamous.
Boom.
And yes, Matt is here, and I'm sure he feels the pain
very much.
But my thing here is how many times can you see the Tigers lose a game in a unique fashion? And I think this is about as unique as you'll find. Yeah, I don't know what Haas was even thinking there. I mean, he didn't move his glove up until I don't know. And we've had conversations about
that's 96 miles an hour, bro.
And that's game winner. Walk off.
You wonder if Hinch had enough and the middle finger came from the dugout. That was the signal to the catcher.
You never know. I do want to ask Matt, and we're going to introduce everybody here. Mr. Matt Cowan, everybody. Matt, we're going to get into your story in a little bit later, but being a representative of the Umpires Guild, we'll call it.
Umpires Guild.
Have you ever had a situation similar? I know you probably didn't take one off the noggin, but have you ever had a situation where a deflection or something ever happened to where you felt it for a little while?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I never any walk-offs, unfortunately, like Blazer did there. But I had probably, I know when I was in the Midwest League, I had 7 headshots in the first month of the season.
Oh
yeah, which was scary because we have protocol. We get hit, we have to go through concussion testing immediately.
Wow.
I passed every time. Nothing was that bad, like square to the face. It was always glancing or caught the bottom of the mask, and the mask pops off to help avoid direct impact. But oh yeah, I've had that. I took 96-mile-an-hour fastball to the wrist. Catcher called slider out. Pitcher threw 2-seamer in, and that felt that one. So
I think that was Tom's polite way of asking you if you ever had a facial.
No, we wouldn't go there. We wouldn't go there. I do have to tell Matt here. We have a fan of your beard.
Yeah.
The perfect evolution of beard growth. Apparently, Polar Nights from our Twitch feed is dialing in.
I got one question for you before we get into the serious stuff. Have you ever been behind the dish and just had to unload one? Like stomach just rumbling like, man, I could really go to the can right now.
I mean, you have your fair share. There's times there. I mean, there's a saying in the triathlon world: you never trust a fart. So you kind of live by that same thing behind the dish. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't have a couple times, especially in spring training, because you have a lot of the minor league athletes all playing around different squads, and it's big with their protein drinks and all that stuff. So again, I'll go behind the catcher and we'll start to get squared up and get ready. Pitcher in motion, catcher squats down, scoots over, and just launches one. And I'm like, bro.
You cut it with a butter knife. You can cut it with a butter knife.
Exactly. Like, dude, at least give me a warning. You're like, call time and go talk to your pitcher or something, or like walk behind me. Like, yeah. So then we've had battles back and forth. I had a catcher.
Yeah.
Was that you?
So this would constitute a I am not shocked that a question like that came from JP. That
one's really been burning my ass all week.
Definitely.
Thank you.
That question was I was waiting for it from JP.
tip of the cap to you.
Oh man. Oh man. So back to the Tigers, as much as we really don't want to say a whole lot about them. They had a really nice pitching performance all weekend, we'll say, except for the 9th inning today.
Yeah.
You don't bring a closer in a non-closer situation, but never, whatever. Olsen, that kid on Friday night, comes up, pitches 5 no-hit innings of baseball. I wasn't watching. I was at Dirks Bentley, so I was getting the updates from you guys.
Yeah.
Rich, what did you see in this kid that gives you hope?
Well, I'll just say he was throwing darts. I mean, everything he threw was on target. His off speed and his breaking stuff was absolutely filthy. I mean, the movement that he put on his breaking ball would drop right off the table. His slider, I think it was a slider or his 2-seam and his 2-seam. I mean, everything that he threw that was off speed or something that was designed to move in and out of the zone. It moved in and out of the zone. Late break on the 2-seam, tailing in to the right-handers. It was great.
So JP, I know we were texting right around the end of the 5th, seeing he was going to come out for the 6th. What do you think Chicago saw that maybe got to him in that 6th inning, gave up 2 runs?
Well, I mean, obviously, first start in the bigs, they probably didn't have a very good idea of who he was.
Nope.
But like Rich said, though, he was mixing his off-speed stuff with his fastballs really good. He looked like he played on Rich's son's high school baseball team, literally in the face.
Oh yeah.
And I think I think third time through the lineup, you start to figure a guy out.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if you look back last year, a guy like Bo Brisky who came up,
yeah,
first couple starts, he was dynamite, and then once there was a little bit more game tape on him, they figured him out. But I think he's got a nice, promising future. Another injury before we move on to the next topic. Faedo goes down on the IL again.
Yeah.
They just announced that today. So there's another pitcher that just hasn't been able to stay healthy. They keep lining up. They've got all the talent in the world, but the injury bug just doesn't seem to quit for the Tigers. But
did you see Tarek Skubal had his first assignment today in West Michigan, so maybe we'll get him back soon.
His second inning, he threw 7 pitches. I think he got through the first inning in 5. So you don't want to rush him back. There's no reason for that. So,
12 pitches, 10 strikes.
Yeah, well, that's pretty efficient. But from some negative news to a little bit of positive news here in the city of Detroit, that isn't the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Pistons went out and backed the Brinks truck up to Monty Williams' garage. 6 years, $78.5 million. But I think we were talking, JP, it could be up to $100 million if in 8 years if he stays that long.
Mm-hmm.
I'll start with you. Is this overkill for a coach, or is it a situation where T-shirt Tom Gores just had to get the right guy for this job?
I think it's just desperation. Obviously, they floated him a deal that wasn't good enough, and you look at the deal. He's $500,000 ahead of Pop, who's in second. He's about $4,000 ahead of Steve Kerr, who has multiple rings, and he's about $5,000 ahead of Eric Spoelstra, who has multiple rings. I think here you just had to pay the Detroit tax to get somebody to come here. You know what I mean? But it's a good move. It shows that Gores is serious about winning.
Finally.
Because they've stunk for a while. I don't think they made the playoffs in 2016
and got swept by Cleveland.
Yeah,
it was ugly.
So maybe hopefully something else to follow. But I mean, hey, I don't think that's a lot of money to Tom Gores. So
well, it's not going towards the team per se, towards players. So
right,
you look at the highest paid player is Bogdanovich. He makes 20, and then your oldest player on the team is 25, and Marvin Bagley the third. So it's a young talent. It's a young roster. Rich, they've got the 5th pick here this year. Is Monty Williams a coach that should be able to, get these guys, I don't know, motivated, or he's going to be able to turn the right screws to get them where they need to be?
Well, I hate to be like a negative Nancy on this one, but we all thought that when they hired Casey. We're like, oh yeah, he's coming off a championship, and we got a young nucleus coming in, and he absolutely shit the bed.
Yeah, he did.
Absolutely shit the bed. And he had talent around him. He shit the bed. Yeah. So when it comes to coach selection and everything like that, yeah, okay. So 2022 he won Coach of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hey, thank you. Great job. It does nothing for us.
Right.
Okay.
Well,
you got to think though. He has the Suns had a better roster than what we have. I mean, it's there.
He won 19 games the year before. So he did that, but he had a roster. He had the roster.
Not really.
We had a halftime Cade Cunningham. Yeah.
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 Well, I mean, nobody at the time though. Nobody knew who Devin Booker was or DeAndre Ayton. You know, he started out with a young roster, just like he is here, just like he did in New Orleans when he took over.
No, I mean, coaching is a big factor in it, but
Right.
to pay the guy $78 million and then over the course of the deal up to $100 million,
Yeah.
I think it's excessive.
Yeah.
But it's a risk. It's a risk, I think.
Dude, it's like you're paying him more money for a guy that's actually performing on the court. You know, half these guys are like this guy, he should be buying my lunch and breakfast every day on the road trip. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the way of the NBA now, rings are won by super teams.
Yeah. And Detroit's not a market for a super team.
But I guess that's my next question.
At this moment, we're not.
That leads to my next question. Is Williams a big enough name to where he might be able to draw some, middle of the road type free agents that could help these young guys?
I went back and looked at his track record, and the only notable one that he's ever really drawn per se was Chris Paul, and that was, that's an older vet that you get to kind of glue that young team together.
And that's probably what they need here.
Yeah, I think he's brought in to do what he's going to do. He's running a daycare center. They're the youngest team in the NBA, and he's brought in to develop that team. I don't know if they're going to draw. Russell Westbrook, maybe. I don't know. I know Cam Johnson's a restricted free agent at the end of the year, and I know he did a lot of good things in Brooklyn, and Monty had a lot to do with his success. So maybe that could be a guy.
Yeah. Well, you want somebody that's going to be able to kind of teach these guys how to win in the NBA and
right.
Get that culture changed. Kind of like they did in Allen Park. Go figure. We never thought we'd ever say that, but Gores listen to the fans. He did the right thing, and who knows? We'll see. So, we are going to switch gears here, and we're gonna briefly hit on the Stanley Cup Final. Game 1 was last night. Game was really solid until that third period, and Vegas got a goal, and then the rails kind of fell off, and Florida they just didn't have it. So
this is a great matchup of two storied franchises. Said nobody ever.
Yeah,
said nobody ever.
We had a really, really good matchup, we'll say, between two really good goalies, and Bobrovsky, who had a slight edge going into this game, looked good at times, but then kind of fell apart in that third period. Do you think that will be a theme moving into the next round or the next game tomorrow night?
No, I think they'll settle. And normally first games is kind of like a feeling out process between the two teams. I think the Panthers were maybe kind of a little bit off because of their break. They had all that time off between the sweep of Carolina, and then Jesus, man, I'm having like a brain fart here. But the Golden Knights, they were in an absolute war and a dogfight with the Stars, right? So they were not far removed from the game, like as the Panthers were. But those saves, that save that happened on I forgot who shot the puck. I think it was Cousins.
It was Cousins.
Yeah, I think it was Cousins. And then the paddle came out. It was almost kind of like when Tuck got stuffed by Braden Holtby last time that they were in the finals.
Yeah, they actually kept showing that over and over again. This save was just I don't think Cousins really expected that paddle to come down. So he just, instead of really pushing up, I don't know. Incredible. Going the other way to get that arm out there to make that save. Matt, what do you think about this game? Was it a situation of Vegas having that home ice advantage, that ruckus crowd. You think that was the edge?
Definitely a little bit. I mean, I think Vegas is a little stronger up front than Florida to begin with, but I think Florida was a little. I mean, they had a much longer break than Vegas as well. But I think it's just what I think was Rich said. Getting settling in with the nerves.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bob will be good, settle in a little bit, and I think game 2 will be a little bit better. But hopefully they don't fall apart in the third like they did in game 1.
I liked how it started. Real chippy. What was within 10 minutes? I thought we were going to have a goalie fight. So I think the Panthers were trying to really, instill themselves and show Vegas that they belonged, but they kind of shied away from that as the game went on. Is that some kind of a play that you think they're going to have to continue to be successful?
I think Florida needs to reel it in a little bit in terms of just their after the whistle aggressiveness. I mean, even in the third there, I think Florida got 2 or 3 misconducts.
Mm-hmm.
At the end, I mean, obviously there's only 4 minutes left at that time, so it didn't really hurt anything. But
the game was pretty much in.
Yeah. But if Vegas sees that and takes that and uses that to their advantage and just keeps poking, because Chuck's a hothead, so
you can get under his skin, and when that mouth guard is outside of his mouth, you never know what's going to happen. Rich, do you think that this is a situation where you have a team that no one ever thought they were going to get there, and now the lights are really bright and they're just, kind of like our Tigers in 2006? They had a week off. The momentum kind of went kaput, and then when the game started to go, they kind of, they're what got them there changed a little bit.
Yeah, I think when you when you look at it from that perspective, and I mean, in the introductions, if you guys watched the beginning of the game, they did the player introductions. I think probably one of the youngest guys in the starting lineup that was introduced. I think like the least amount of years of service was 6. Everybody else, I mean, Petrangelo has a ton of. I mean, these guys, it's not like it's a fresh team. I mean, these guys are very well seasoned. They've been around. They've played. I think, honestly, nobody even thought that Florida would have made it as far as they did, just based off of what their regular season record was. But you look at that roster, and that roster is deep. And I'll tell you right now, Las Vegas is the same way. I mean, they're both very, very solid defensively and very gritty teams. I'll say that, very gritty.
What Eric Stahl had won a cup in 2006 with the Hurricane, and he's on Florida. So
with his brother Mark, right?
Right. There's 3 former Red Wings on the roster for the Panthers. Go figure there.
Yeah.
So I'll stick with you, Rich. Tell me, Florida wins the series. Why? What would take for them to win it?
They need to get better play on the back end from Bob, and I think he'll turn that around after last night. They got to play their game, right? They got to play their gritty game. Chuck's got to get underneath some skin, right? Draw some penalties, and play tough. That's kind of one of the keys that is going to be for them winning the series. And then for Vegas, obviously, to stop the Chuck from getting under their skin, making them take dumb penalties, putting themselves behind the hole. Aiden Hill needs to keep playing the way he's playing. I mean, he's been playing unbelievable. Jack Eichel, I'd love to see him win a cup. Everything he's gone through. I mean, damn, he sat out nearly almost the entire season last year just because he was in a feud with his employer because he wanted an elective surgery and they wouldn't allow him to get it. So Then he got a surgery, and then look at him. And next year, he's in the Stanley Cup Finals. So, hopefully he wins that. I mean, I personally would like to see Las Vegas win it because, I mean, how cool would that be? I mean, of one of the newer teams, expansion teams. I mean, outside of Seattle, right? They come in and they win a cup, say within the first decade that they've been around. So
5 years.
Yeah, I think it'd be great.
So I'll swing it over to you, Matt. Vegas wins this series. Why?
I mean, if they can keep it up and pretty much keep game one going. I mean, they capitalized on power plays. They got under Florida's skin. Obviously, again, at the end, there's three or four misconducts just alone. And and that's huge. I mean, you're talking about the biggest series and one of the most prized trophies in all of sports on the line. There's only 6 more games to go. So if Vegas can keep that and keep the pressure on Florida, they're going to have a hard time with Bob staying on top of everything. And he needs that support, obviously, from the front end to get the goals, but they need to capitalize on those power plays and stay out of the box if they're going to do it. But if Vegas keeps the pressure going, they'll definitely take that series.
And then Florida, what's it going to take for them?
Stay out of the box. Yeah, like we said, they have their hotheads that are very crucial. Obviously, that's a big part of hockey. Obviously, your enforcers and the ones to poke and try and draw the penalties, but hopefully they can find that fine line, of when to stop, try to draw the penalty, but not get one themselves.
Right.
Because obviously that's the name of the game. But if you can't stay out of the box and you can't do it, you're not going to win.
No, that's for sure. So. That's for sure. And I'm going to bring JP in here and just ask him one simple question. Are you watching any of these playoffs, any of this Stanley Cup run?
No.
He's honest.
No.
That's good. That is the answer. I was looking. Oh, and he just he removed himself. So, but yeah, no, I think Florida got kind of caught up in the moment. And like you said, Matt, they're going to have to reel it back and find a way to just kind of hold their composure. And I think they got a good coach that'll be able to get them in. Having Bobrovsky back there, and I think that right there says a lot, helping a team. When you have that knowing that you have a world goalie back there that's going to help you out. So I think this thing's going to go with 7. I'll say Vegas in 7 just because, I want to see it go 7 because it's great. Welcome back, JP. I don't know what happened. You just maybe had a landmine come out and it threw your phone out. So we're going to go to the other big time topic heading the sports pages these days. It's the NBA Finals. Denver sure didn't hurt themselves with their week and a half they had out. They had between Game 4 and Game 1 of the finals here. They go ahead and win Game 1, 104-93. Jokic, he's a triple-double machine. He's a robot out there. I don't think anyone can cover him. And then you look over on the other side, Miami's going to have a hard time winning any game when Butler scores 13. JP, we'll start with you. What were your thoughts of Game 1? Is it what you expected, or did Denver just come out a lot better and a lot more refreshed?
It's kind of what I expected. Denver hasn't lost a game at home in this playoffs. I don't think that Miami necessarily has the team to compete with them, especially when Caleb Martin scores 3 points and he was your guy last round. And like you said, Butler, I don't know, has kind of just disappeared in the last few games. But it's just too much. You try to double Jokic, you try to triple Jokic. They got all the shooters. Murray's lighting it up. It's it's just too much. I think it's going to be too much for Miami. I'm interested to see what they do to rebuttal tonight, but it's pretty much on par with what I expected.
Yeah, I mean, Caleb Martin coming into this series, he was the X factor I was looking at. Look what he did. Look what he did in game 7 in Boston. He was unstoppable. He was able to pretty much win that game single-handedly for Miami. And like you said,
I agree.
when he's only scoring 3 points and Butler's only scoring 13, they're in big trouble. They're in big trouble out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Butler has to be absolutely dominant for them to have a chance.
We'll talk a little bit about Jokic. I don't know if the NBA has seen anything like him. You can look at players like Dirk Nowitzki, Luka Doncic. They were fundamentally sound basketball players, could play anywhere on the floor. This guy he's a bulldozer, and he can shoot, and the way he can pass. Is he the best player in the world right now?
I think so. I think you have to say so. It'd be between him and Giannis for me. But, I mean, it's just absurd for a guy like him who's 28, already has 15 triple-doubles in the playoffs. He's basically averaging one in these playoffs.
Yep.
I think Magic Johnson has 30 and LeBron has 28. So he'll probably catch those guys. But it's just he's a do-it-all kind of guy, and you've never seen a guy at that size that can, you double him. He's finding guys. He's almost a pass-first center. It's pretty crazy. He can shoot from the outside. He's definitely the best player in the world. He's the biggest X factor in any sport, if you ask me.
Well, if you go back, way back, when Magic was, when he had his run with the Lakers, he played center. He played every position on the floor, and he was carrying the ball up the court. Jokic was running the point for a good portion of that game. I mean, that just shows you the confidence they have in him and his ability to distribute the ball and kind of pull those bigs out of the paint, which gives opportunities for everybody else to get down there and drive the lane and whatnot, and then also free up for a lot of threes. Murray's just a three machine. So
yeah, he's been awesome.
Miami was really flat. Obviously, they played a really tough series, and you look at the altitude situation, quite drastic between Miami and Denver. It's been said time and time again, the difference. Is this a situation where Miami just kind of lost their legs halfway through this game?
I mean, it can be. The final score wasn't even an indication of how big of a blowout it really was. I mean, it's a problem, but basketball is a continuous sport. You know what I mean? It's nonstop running. So I would guess if you're not conditioned in that environment, that it would be pretty tough to get around.
And then, they're the only second 8 seed in the history of the game to make the final. So maybe they're playing with house money. Maybe that money's running out a little bit. A little foreshadowing for our segment coming up here later on the show. But I think it's clear cut for me why Denver would win this series. It's Jokic, and you hope to stop everybody else around him. I don't know if you can. I don't know if Miami can. Give me a scenario where Miami actually comes out with the win here.
I think that for Miami to win, I think Michael Porter Jr. and I think Murray are going to have to go cold because that's a lot of their offense right now. I think Miami's going to have to go super hot. They're going to have to outshoot them from the three-point line. And that's pretty much the only scenario where I think Miami would have a chance is where they outshoot them from the three-point line and they can get some stops down the stretch. But Denver's such a tough offense to stop.
Yeah, I mean, and they're deep, and their bench is really strong, and I think that's where Miami kind of fell flat. Even in the Boston series, their bench it didn't carry him. Duncan Robinson, if he wasn't hitting threes, the series kind of went with his ability to shoot. Game 6, he wasn't hitting anything. They lose. Game 7, he hit some big shots. They win. So for me, it's the bench play. It's the bench play, and if the bench doesn't show up for Miami, this could be a sweep. maybe
Yeah.
5. Give me a number here. Who's going to win and win how many games?
I got Denver in 5.
Yeah,
I think Miami's going to win a home game, but I got Denver in 5, and I was even thinking maybe a sweep.
I mean, if they were hitting everything the other night,
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows how this is going to go? But I think Denver wins. I like the 5. They're just too strong. I think they've got the better team clearly. So, we got Denver in 4. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. It just really wouldn't. They're just so built differently. So, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. So we're gonna move on here, and we're gonna bring on Matt back in for the reason why we brought him on. Obviously to talk a little hockey and Tigers too. But we're starting a new series here. Like I said at the beginning, men's mental health in general is kind of on the forefront of a lot of people's minds. I think the stigma with a lot of guys is I'm strong, and it can't happen to me. And the reality is you're not, and it's okay. So the point of this series is just to kind of, lift up some men, lift up their spirits, and help out as much as we can, and talk about stories of inspiration like we have with Matt here today. Matt, we're going to let him tell his story about his weight loss journey and, what it took to get him to get to that point where he needed to make a change. So I'll bring you back in here, Matt. Thank you so much for joining us today and being a part of this. I know I've been really excited to have you on, and we did mention earlier you were a minor league umpire and you were going to Wendelstedt's camp, and something was said to you that kind of triggered change.
Yeah. Little background. Coming out of high school into college, lost my dad in 2008. And I actually had the same doctor as my dad. So after he passed, my doctor pretty much told me, he goes, "Do you miss your dad?" I said, "Yeah, I'd miss him a lot." He goes, "Me too." We always joked around with each other, but if you continue on the path you're going, you'll see him sooner than you think. And
That's powerful.
It bet your ass it was. It made me realize a lot. So I had thought at that point I was in college, umpiring college baseball and high school at the time, and something just hit, and I said, "You know what? I think I want to follow the umpire dream." That's what I shared with my dad as a passion. That's where I learned everything from when I was little. I was playing 11, 12-year-old youth ball, umpiring the 9, 10-year-olds, so I just kept doing that, moving up. And that's that's when I decided, I need to lose weight, but I knew if I wanted to even pursue that, I needed to get healthy, but health overall, to do that. So I started the weight loss journey to tackle that. So it was about 2.5 years before I went to umpire school to start that career. So,
and you tell us a little bit about the camp that you attended.
Yeah, Harry Wendelstedt Umpire School in Ormond Beach, Florida. It's the best school to go to. But it's 5 weeks, 5 weeks long. They literally teach you everything about umpiring, how to properly take your mask off with the indicator in your hand. And in 5 weeks, you're umpiring a whole game, so it's a crunch, and some of the guys that do the best there are ones that have never umpired before.
Because they have no expectations.
Exactly. They have no
clean slate.
They have no bad habits to break. I was fortunate enough that before I went to school, I was working in college baseball with guys that worked in the pros. So I had already kind of had a head start on certain positioning and little differences from, shall I say, amateur umpiring to the professional side, because some of the mechanics and everything are a little bit different on how they want things done. So it wasn't too much of a change for me at umpire school. But I said 5 weeks, and they start bare bones, and they cover the whole rule book. We had a test every day. So it was a grind, but it's a lot of fun.
And you did that. Did you do that for 2 years, or?
I did. The first year I went down, I was probably 250-ish, and I did great, did well. I was probably the top third of the class, just missed the cut. And they said, Matt, look, we want you to come back next year. You did great, but you're still a little on the heavier side from what minor league baseball wants. Because there was 2 schools that you'd go to, and then they would send their top guys to the evaluation course that was put on by minor league baseball. So they go, look, if we send you, you're almost not going to get accepted immediately. So try and drop a little bit more weight and come back next year. And that's what I did. I dropped some. I went back. I was about 205. And what's funny is there's 3 umpires that are in the big leagues right now. One of them's Hunter Wendelstedt. The other's Junior Valentine. He goes, Matt Cowan. He goes, why does that name sound familiar? He goes, he was here last year. He goes, no, he wasn't. He goes, yeah, he goes, the same guy? That's the same Matt from last year? He goes, yeah. He goes, holy shit. It's a different guy. But they had said throughout, kind of the whole camp that I was almost a shoo-in. I perfected everything that summer. The previous year, I'd worked in Northwoods League, which summer college would bat, and we were all young, aspiring minor league umpires. So we worked with each other, just perfected everything we learned at umpire school the previous year. Went back, and
you knew what to expect.
Yeah.
You knew what to expect, so you had the kind of one up on everybody else with the other experience.
Yeah.
Rich, I know you had a situation today in your game. So I know we spoke pre-show, but go ahead and talk about the experience that you had, just to show that umpires they're put under a lot of pressure. The reality is, and not only from players but from coaches and parents.
Yeah, first I want to say, Matt, thanks for coming on the show and talking about your journey, especially. I mean, let's outside of going and pursuing your dream of being an umpire in minor league baseball, but your journey through of transformation of yourself from being somebody who was unhealthy and making that decision to make that change, and you and I mean, we're kind of similar. I lost my dad in 2009. So I mean, I can kind of relate a little bit with you on that, especially even though I think I was 30 when it happened. I was 29, almost 30, but yeah, today baseball, I mean, I have both boys. Both my sons played, travel baseball, high school baseball. And, it's kind of, I mean, we're all human, right? And that's what people need to really understand is we're human. We will make mistakes, right? And umpires are the same. They'll make mistakes, but it's how they handle the mistakes that they make and how they I guess overcome and maybe correct themselves on it. But I'm not going to go into the long story of it, but it was it was just dumb. It was absolutely dumb. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, there were some infield fly rules that probably shouldn't have been called.
Yes, that's really what it was. And it's just, you look at it now and you kind of laugh at it, but you know what? I will say this, and I didn't say this in the pre-show or anything like that. At the end of the game, when it was over, that field umpire came up to me and said, "Hey," he goes, "I blew that call," and he goes, "And I'm sorry." And that right there, I mean, it's easy to make an error and then just be mad about it, or the way it was. the guy had 3 innings. He thought about it for 3 innings. The game was over, came up, shook my hand and said, "Hey, I messed up. I apologize." And he goes, "And I know that changed the outcome of the game because it's like popping a balloon for those kids. They get upset, you got a balloon, you're on a high and you're rallying, and then somebody comes and pops that balloon and you're just like, you cry, so it is what it is. But that's it. You kind of, I try not to be hard on umpires because there's people don't want to go down that route because you don't get paid enough to deal with the bullshit. That's for damn sure. If you're going there and you're getting $55 to sit there and get heckled and yelled at by Jimmy Joe's dad over in the corner who just got done reading reading a rule book,
or Rich coaching third.
Yeah, or you got Rich coaching third. And I told the boys, I'm like, hey guys, I said, I only know one of the signs because I coach first base. So I know the steal sign. Everything else, this is what I want you. If I do this, I want you to attack and hit the ball. If I touch my nose, if I touch my nose, I want you guys to take a pitch. And if I touch the bill of my hat, run like hell. And that's pretty much what I told them. I said, because the only thing I have over on my side of the thing, all I look at is make sure that the kid gets the sign to steal. That's it. That's all I care about. Because I don't want to be like the guy over at first base getting yelled at by the head coach. Like, dude, why didn't you tell him to go? Why didn't you tell him to go? So I say, here's my sign. Hit, watch a pitch, steal. That's all I did. So
one thing I will say that I'm glad you had mentioned it. One thing that I've kind of realized is an umpire that truly cares in most cases, cares about what and how they perform on the field is the umpire that will admit their mistakes. I mean, it happened multiple times in my career in professional baseball. I mean, you have a 1-2 pitch that's, curveball, something, slider on the corner, and you ball it. And you're like, shit. The catcher, then you tell him, you're like, yeah, that one's on me. He goes, all right, just, as long as you know. Next one, he gets a base hit, scores a run. Oh, that was on me, but ones that like that base umpire that comes up and admits it, like, yeah, I messed up. Good for him.
Like Jim Joyce.
Right. That to me, that speaks, volumes for
he's still crying about that, by the way.
Yeah.
So after your experiences at the school, you picked up, you go on with your career. I saw you when you were umping a series in West Michigan. That was the coldest day. I think I was one of 8 people in the stands.
Probably.
But
what year was that?
It was 18, I think. I think it was 18. That April of 2018. It was in Comstock Park, the West Michigan whatever they are.
Whitecaps.
Whitecaps. But tell us about your experience.
Self-proclaimed Tiger fan.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm big Mormon, okay, give me a break. Tell us a little bit about your experiences on the road. You were newly married. What were some of the challenges that you faced that maybe kind of threw you for a loop?
For not really traveling before, that is a lot to get used to. Rookie ball is pretty cool because for the most part you're in. I was in Arizona, so we were all centrally located in Phoenix. We all had rental cars, but we all stayed at the same hotel, so it was just a constant party every night. With frat boys, so to speak. So it was a blast. But after that, once you get into your short seasons, it's your partner, you get a rental car, and that's it. So you're in the same hotel room. You're splitting a double. So there's a lot of learning there So a lot of kids go 18 to 21 is when they go to umpire school, and then they get in. So they don't have these life experiences. I was a little bit older. I was 24, but I still didn't really have those life experiences. You're still so young.
Sure.
But to live out of a suitcase for 4 months in rookie ball and short season, and then getting into, at the time, low A, they've restructured things now, but low A started your first full season, and now you get your own hotel room. Now it's 7 months. You have spring for a month, and then your 5 to 6 month season. It's different, going to work, coming home to your hotel room, and no one's there. Nobody's. You don't have family. You don't have your wife, your kids, anyone to go home to.
That had to have been a big adjustment.
It was because I was still dating Emily at the time in the early seasons. So we would talk, but you don't have them there. So it was an adjustment for sure. Food and diet was a huge thing. We'd get meals at the ballpark after the game, but breakfast sometimes at hotels, but you were on your own for lunch. So you have that, and trying to just adjust, is on the road is very tough, especially when we're held under such a microscope. We're actually held to the same drug testing standards as players were. So if we tested positive for a PED, we get suspended. What are you going to do? Call an aggressive strike? But
your bow and arrow a little bit too strong. We gotta run that guy. He flexed a little bit on that back.
Hey, Matt punched him out a little too aggressively.
Right.
Send him for a piss test, please.
So that was always part of it too. Is you're always like wondering, am I gaining weight? Am I not? Am I still? How do I look in my uniforms? The look in uniform in general was critiqued quite a bit. Is your shirt baggy? Is it wrinkled and bunched up when it's tucked in? Are your pants dragging on the ground? Are there dirt stains? Are your shoes clean? Are the soles white?
So you're representing, the league as a whole. So they want to make sure, almost like military style.
Yeah, we're technically, and like, again, things may be a little bit different now because they got rid of minor league umpire development a couple years ago. But like I said, when I was there, we worked for minor league baseball, and we're contracted to the leagues. So we represented the entire front office of minor league baseball. So we were it's very militant, so to speak.
Well, I mean, they, like you said, you're representing them, and they want to make sure their product is as such. And I know you had a young guy. I think he was from Canada, was he?
Yeah.
Your partner.
Yeah.
Do you still communicate with some of the guys? Are they still involved with baseball? And have any of them? I know you mentioned the guy's name. That guy took the 96 mile an hour fastball to the face. You mentioned his name. Do you still talk to any of those guys?
Quite a few of them. There's let's see. There's probably a handful that are right on that verge of AAA and getting into the big leagues. A couple of them worked big league spring this year, which means that's their first step. Then next step is getting a number assignments in Major League Baseball, and then working as a call up. So there's a few of them a couple that have numbers. A couple of my instructors when I was at umpire school they're all minor league guys at the time. They have now since been hired in. I think 5 of them have, which is awesome. The Canadian you're talking about, Steven.
Yeah,
he is. I talk to him periodically, but we are very close. We're good friends. He is killing it. He is doing very well.
What league is he in currently?
He's in AAA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he's I think he's on the younger side of things.
He was very young. He was very young.
But yeah, he's doing well. So I hope to see him progress. But like I said, a lot of guys, a couple of my partners are right on that cusp of AAA in the big league. So it's good to see that which is always fun because then when they come to Detroit, get to hang out.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Hey, JP, do you have anything you want to ask Matt?
No, I guess, what was there any like high profile names that you've called that you remember? Like big name guys that you might have umped the game for?
I'll answer that because, well, he can answer it, but I'll jump in. He got nose to nose with Lance Parrish.
Really?
I was in the stands like, yes, that's great. This is so cool.
You got face to face, nose to nose with Big Wheel.
Yeah, Big Wheel.
Yeah.
He was.
Man.
Oh boy, he Lance was giving it. Matt was giving it back. That was a cool moment. I was scouring my phone trying to find pictures. I knew I took videos of it, but apparently the cloud is congested. I couldn't find it. But yeah, that was cool. But Matt, I'll let you answer them.
Yeah, the Lance Parrish. That was that 2018 start in the Midwest before I went to the California League. But all I remember was I think we had back-to-back fair foul calls, and the first one was a fair ball that Steven called, and as it passed the bag because it's his, when it landed, and then second one was mine. Steven was in the infield, and I had a fair ball, and Lance just lost it, and I wasn't gonna let him go off, so we got nose to nose. I let him have it a little bit, and that was fun. But
Yeah.
I mean, you can pick out almost any 40-man or any big league roster, and I can pick out a couple. Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, I easily off the top of my head, Tatis Jr.
Oh wow.
Guerrero Jr.
Wow.
Bo Bichette when they were both in Lansing. Pavin Smith and with the Diamondbacks, as well as their catcher Jose Herrera. I mean, yeah, I could keep going. Side note, I gave Tatis Jr. An equipment violation in the Midwest League. So,
so he's been violating for a long time, huh?
What was the violation?
He didn't like a check swing that my partner called, which was funny because he didn't get mad at me. He was mad at my partner. So I sent down to him. He rang him up on strike 3, and he drops his bat and just stares at him and takes his helmet and spikes it. And I said, "Oh, that's a violation." So I gave it to him. And after the game, we're in the clubhouse. He goes, "Man, you really had to give that to me?" I said, "Yeah. Why do you gotta spike your helmet? Like, you put me on the spot. I have no choice."
Yeah.
He goes, "Okay, well, I'm not going to pay it. The league probably will." So,
well, you're being critiqued.
Right.
So if you don't make that call, you're going to get a call. Hey, why didn't you make that? It's safer to make the call. So
that's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
You decided on that maybe age was a hindrance, and you just maybe didn't have the drive to do it anymore, or what was your reasons for deciding to pursue a different career?
Cool fact that I often actually forget, but humbles me when I think about it. When I got hired into professional baseball, I was on a reserve list that year in the Coastal Plains League. That was the feeder league for MiLB. I got a call from at the time the president, Dusty Dellinger, on Father's Day that I was being promoted into professional baseball. So that was a feeling I will never forget.
Fate.
It was. I was driving to Fayetteville, North Carolina or South Carolina, whatever it is.
North Carolina.
There you go. And I obviously just cried.
Sure.
I couldn't believe it. But I said, this is what I want to do, right? This is the path I want to go on. But the day it becomes a job, I'm out. Because I knew the passion and drive that I had at that time to be a minor league umpire, professional umpire with aspirations of getting to the bigs. But when it becomes a job and I am no longer have that drive, or I have other things outside of, that won't let me continue.
Mm-hmm.
That's my time. So fast forward, 2018 season was a grind. It's 28 and I'm on the older age of what they like to see. I was going into AA, and I would have had at least 5 to 6 more years before I really figured out if I had a shot at the big leagues. It could have been less if I got the AA and just botched everything, and they're like, yeah, you're not going to see ya.
Yeah.
But if I got through that and then got into AAA, it's going to put me 33, 34 years old. And I didn't want that to say, well, hey, sorry, we're going to go a different direction. Thanks for your time. That's it.
You made that choice.
I have nothing.
Yeah.
I'm starting life at that point. I was essentially starting life over.
Mm-hmm.
I had some college at the time, but didn't have a degree yet or anything. So I said, you know what? I'm going to cut my losses. I'm not enjoying this as much anymore because there's other things I want to do in life. I want to have a family. Was newly married at the time in 18. And I said, this is time, so I was fortunate enough. I worked the whole season and worked the championship in the California League. So after that, left the hat on home plate and walked off the field.
That's awesome. But I guess in relation to what we're trying to achieve with this segment, the inspirational aspect is you had a dream, and you put in the work to do it. And it took some deep thoughts, some deep words from the doctor, and then your experiences at the school. But the difference between what you did and a lot of other guys, a lot of other men, they don't feel they'll ever achieve it. But you put in the work, you achieved it, and you have lifelong memories. You've met people that you'll probably share life with for the rest of your life, and you get to come on here and talk about it, and we're thankful that you're here. And the message is, don't quit. If you have a dream, and even if it is 24, 25 years old. I mean, I'm 45, and my dreams have I'm living my dream right now. Love you, dear. But I wish I would have had the inspiration to continue to go to school. I chose money over school. I didn't think it was for me. If I could rewind it and put in the work, I would have done that. But it wasn't in the cards for me. So now you're doing Ironman challenges. You're riding bikes. Why and how?
So it's like one of those newfound passions, right? Something that you do once and you're like, hey, this is kind of neat. I'm gonna do this for a second time and a third time, and then you really find a niche for it. And part of it's from that lady over there, Emily, for working at the bike shop. When I met her, got a bike, right? So after I got out of baseball, one thing I always said was, in being surrounded by all these cyclists and triathletes, I said, I'm going to do an Ironman one day. But the marathon part of it was daunting to me. I was like, I don't know about 26.2 miles. But after everything else, I said, I'm going to do it. And I started with just doing some gravel road races, because riding on pavement roads suck with all the traffic. Just no respect out there. But
get hit by a car.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd go north a little bit to gravel roads, Ann Arbor-ish area, Dexter. Just
north,
ride.
just 15 minutes that way.
Yeah, there you go. In your neighborhood. So I would do that, and started with like 30-mile rides, and then I do the higher of the two distance, which is generally around 60-ish miles. And then one day I just sat down and I said, you know what? I'm gonna do a full Ironman. So I did Traverse City 70.3, which is a half Ironman. I did that, and I loved it. I did great. I trained, did the swim, the bike, the run, and then I said, you know what, I'm gonna double it and go to Louisville for a full. And that's a totally different animal, to say the least. Traverse City was great. The water was as calm as could be in the morning. Had a decent swim. I never really swam before, but I knew what I had to do, right? And
in the swimming aspect, how long?
Half Ironman is 1.2 miles.
Oof.
So we were in Traverse Bay. I think it was East Bay. But swam there, got out, got on the bike, go rode, went out to ride 56 miles, did that, came back, and then ran a half marathon, 13.2. So
Wow.
70.3 half Ironman. And like I said, I felt good. Nutrition was on. I think I did that in 5 hours, 45 minutes.
Damn.
So for me, I was stoked. You know, pros do it in like 3 hours or something, but they're machines. So
Right.
So I said, you know what, I'm gonna try and do a full. I did. Insert COVID delays, blah 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 blah. Got to 2021, and I ended up having to defer because they got rid of Louisville into Chattanooga. So I went to Chattanooga, and I will say, Chattanooga is probably one of the most, from what I've heard at least, and I can vouch on that, most fun atmosphere and locations for the Ironman.
That's where we were when the little Lilo decided to go on a 16-day journey. But anyways,
yeah, they're Chattanooga. They're very welcoming. A lot of locals help out and volunteer, and that's what helps run those races. But yeah, that's full Ironman. First one I did. I think it was 14:01:04 was my time. 14 hours, 1 minute and 4 seconds. So to try and comprehend that, imagine working out nonstop for just 14 hours.
I'm tired just thinking about it. I think I just threw a hamstring just thinking about it. I don't know. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So that one.
But you weren't last.
No,
you were not last.
No.
So, hey.
Yeah.
But you started it and you finished it.
Yeah. That was. I started it. The swim was good, and put a pretty fast time for that. Got out on the bike. So that was. Let me remind you, Tom and fellas, the full Ironman is 2.4 mile swim, 112-mile bike ride.
Wow.
And a 26.2 full marathon after the fact. So,
yeah.
And I say this, and you're going to doubt me. The day goes by pretty quick. I mean,
I bet.
if you're not focusing on it, but
you just named my stats in 32 years of life.
How many miles? It was a 26-mile run.
Yeah.
Yeah, I may have ran 26 miles in the last 20 years.
I think I just pulled the butt muscle leaning up in the chair.
Yeah, that's cool. I did that, and I had so much fun. I wanted to go back and do it again. So I did Chattanooga again in 22, except that year was worse, just a little bit with digestion, just having nutrition issues.
Yeah, I can imagine that'd be
which
rough.
And it was a really tough day for me. I ended up you get transition bags where you get out of the swim, they give you your bike stuff, and then when you get off the bike, you put you have your run bag, so you take your run stuff out, put your bike stuff in the bag, and give it to support. I put both pairs of socks in my bike bag, so when I got off the bike in 22, it was pouring rain for over 90% of the ride. So I was feet were all raisined, and I get off the bike and I'm looking. I'm like, "Where's my socks? Where's my socks?"
Yeah.
Shit. I don't have them. So I had to make the decision: do I run without socks or do I run with socks? The wet ones that I have. And I said, you know what? At this point, it's now 90 degrees. It just rained all morning, so it's humid as can be. And I said, you know what? I'll dry. I should dry out, right? Wrong. 5 miles in, I start feeling hot spots. I'm like, oh, I'm screwed.
Oh no.
I'm done. This is bad.
That's it.
Yep. And about mile, I started feeling a blister. And Emily was there at the turn at mile 13. So I get through mile 10, hit to mile 13, and I have blisters that I can feel, and they're just excruciating. And I get to her, and she's like, what's wrong? I was like, well, I got blisters. She goes, you went from 8-minute miles to 9s to 11s to 13s. What happened? And I was like, just digestion, nutrition, blisters, right? She goes, are you going to stop? And I said, yeah, I need to. I just need to call it. I'm not going to win anything, right? It's just a personal thing.
Yeah.
But knowing that I would have the DNF letters on my race card as it did not finish would just eat at me. So she goes, well, when are you going to stop? So there's a turn where you turn left to go back towards the finish line, which I would have went and handed over my timing chip, or to the right would start loop 2. And I get to that turn, and Emily was kind of behind me. She's like, when are you going to stop? I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
See ya.
To the right I went. And there goes loop 2. And I was like, well, here we go. And at that point, I was like, you know what? And any Ironman, I feel safe saying this, any Ironman athlete can tell you, your mind goes through so many different states of.
It's telling you one thing,
yes,
and then it's telling you another.
Yeah, you go through. Your mind visits so many different places in the day where you're having fun and you're enjoying it, and you're just on the bike, just cruising, having a grand old time. And then you get on the run. You're like, I have 26 miles on my feet to still do. And then you're like, why did I ever do this? You enter the real dark place because you think that what they do to you is you get to the turn and you have the second loop to go on a run. So you see everybody making the turn to go to the finish line. That's a faster athlete, and they're going to finish and they're done. And you're like, I got 13 miles to go still, So it really puts your mind in a really dark place. And that's where I was at that time. I said, you know what? I haven't put in the time, the training, and I will say props to Emily for dealing with it, because Ironman training is not easy. Because there's a lot of time away from home. Sure. If you're not on a treadmill or a stationary trainer, but swimming, going to the pool or the lake. So for her to put up with me, very credit to her over there. But I said I haven't sacrificed all that to just give up. And it kind of goes back to obviously your segment,
the inspiration,
of not
the mind power.
Yeah. And finding that. So I had to find that within myself. And I said, you know what? I can't run anymore. The blisters, when I tell you it was the size of my palm from left to right side of my foot, was just a massive blister. So the most excruciating pain I've felt. And that was, I still had 13 miles to go, so I just battled it on my heels, the sides of my feet. I did whatever I had to do, got through, to the end, finished, and it was over. It was like 15 something hours.
Wow.
But I finished, and that was the point of it, is just digging down deep.
Those three letters.
Yeah.
That's all it took. It just changed your whole drive and your mentality, because you did not want to see those 3 letters.
Yeah.
That's powerful, man. That's and 99% people probably would have hit the right instead of the left at that loop. And nobody would have thought any less of them for doing so.
Right.
But that drive, and I don't think everyone has that drive to say, that's not good enough.
Yeah.
And I'm going to finish it. But that poses another issue. Now you got a longer time than the last time. So are we going to be doing another Ironman challenge?
At some point, I will.
At some point.
Other things on the plate right now,
sure,
to tackle. But I want to do some distance, just gravel racing. There's some some races out there in the country. One was just this weekend called Unbound. It's one of the most popular gravel races. And there's one in Michigan. You go from from Au Gres across the states to Ludington, I believe.
Wow.
Finish.
Wow.
This is like 210 miles. So I got some of that stuff I want to do, and I got burnout. 21 and 22. I did.
That makes sense.
I did 2 half Ironmans and a full Ironman.
That's
2 years in a row.
That's a chunk.
So, again, props to Emily for dealing with me because I wasn't around a lot, which put her to deal with the dogs, but she allowed me to tackle that and have a lot of fun. So, but now, just like I said, some other stuff on the plate that I want to tackle, but I will do another full, whether I go to a different venue or just go back to Chattanooga because that's how fun it is. It's a great venue, but I'll do it again at some point.
Sweet. Well, we definitely will be following your journey and rooting you on. Maybe I'll go down there and Chattanooga is a fun town. It's a fun town. I will be on the sidelines like I was when the Christina did her half marathon. Matter of fact, I think probably 12 of the 13 point whatever miles, I was still sleeping. And I made it to the finish line, and I did not see her cross the finish line, which somebody spotted me. I don't know how on the sidelines after he finished, but yeah. So, Rich, I know you had to step away for a minute. You got any thing you want to say before we wrap up this segment?
No, I mean, like I said before, thanks for coming on. And I mean, just hearing from somebody else's perspective on how they overcame some challenges. One of the challenges, you had a goal that you wanted to set. And just like you said about, having the image, right? A friend is a football official, and that's one of his biggest things that he's having to go through right now is, he gets selected for, some Division I stuff, but it's appearance, it's not that he can't run down the sideline and, make the calls and stuff like that. The skill is there. The know-how is there, but it's the look. And and I see him every day. He's putting the work in and he's doing what he can. So, I mean, it's very inspiring to hear that somebody was able to take that goal and turn it into motivation, and not only to achieve a goal and pursue a dream that you wanted to, right? But then it also allowed you to become a healthier person. And then also during the course of all that, what did it do? You ended up finding out that there's some other hobbies out there you like Ironmans and stuff like that. Now, I got a quick question about Ironman contest. What if I had an e-bike? Do you think they would let me in that at all, or no? Because I mean, I can run, but I'd want to get maybe like an e-bike. Maybe. Do you think that'll work out? 56 miles on an e-bike. I got that.
No, there is a strong frown and deny to e-bikes on an Ironman.
I'm out.
Yeah, he can't do it. He can't do it. He can't do it. So, JP, you got anything to say before we wrap up this segment?
No, just kudos on that. My brother actually finished a half marathon today at just under 8 minutes a mile, and he said it was probably the hardest thing he ever did. So what you were just talking about seemed like the hardest thing he ever did amplified. So that's pretty wild. So I just kudos for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. But again, thank you so much, Matt, for joining us. I know you had to battle with some traffic getting over here. Matt lives on the east side, and
yeah,
I guess the 96 traffic bit him a little bit. But he made it for the show. Thank you so much for coming out.
Yeah.
Your story definitely is inspiring, and I hope somebody will listen or see it and realize that, you know what, there's a chance. And even if there's a little bit of a chance, it's worth it.
There's always a chance. It's just about finding it and and just making it happen.
For sure.
At the time when I went through all the weight loss, I was in school full time and working. After I lost my dad, I was living at home with mom, so it was work full time and school part time, or the opposite. So it was always after work and school that I go to the gym. I was gone from 7 a.m. till pretty much like 9, 10 o'clock at night.
Home to sleep and then do it all over again.
And that was honestly like 2 years of my life. And I lived off of brown rice, sweet potatoes,
chicken.
Yes, chicken and eggs.
Sounds like Mr. Clyde's meal plan.
So.
Well, I'll tell you right now. So, to go back, I mean, starting in January, I quit drinking beer and liquor and everything like that. And yeah, what I have been drinking has been what we call the non-alcoholic type.
As Terry Sloan calls it, near beer.
Near beer. But I came to like kind of like an epiphany where it was like, I got to do something. So, I mean, from the beginning of the year till now, I've lost 25 pounds. So I feel a lot better, but I could probably afford to lose probably about 25 more, but.
Great job. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I talk about it, but it never happens. So one of these days, this show probably will inspire me to
drink more beer.
Get out of bed in the morning. I'll have you know, straight Bucky's water. That's all I've had today. So
I had a 5-pound weight loss shit earlier, and then I had chicken. I had some chicken shack before the show.
Jesus, of course, JP comes in with the backdoor reference and to lead us into one of our favorite segments here, fellas. Are you ready for this? Are you ready? Where's that? Well, there's a little hiccup there. New internet, thought everything was going to go smooth, but there's some hiccups. We'll get through it.
Probably because it launched faster than you probably thought it was going to.
It may have. It was a little too fast for my fingers, but this is the segment of the show where we throw you a bet. You take it to the apps, win some money, and hey, who knows? Maybe you'll throw us a few bucks here and there. So, JP, clearly it ain't your money.
Not my problem.
What you got this week?
I went the game tonight. I got Denver at -8.5, and I paired that with Michael Porter Jr. over 2.5 threes at +188.
Not too bad. Not too bad. I don't have an update of the score because YouTube doesn't let us see live things as we're going live. But Rich, it's not your money.
Ain't my problem.
What you got? Are you prepared this week? Are you prepared?
I am prepared.
All right.
For a change, I'm prepared. All right. So according to FanDuel, we got a +104 on the under with the Vegas Golden Knights and the Jesus Christ, the Panthers. But the under is 5.5. I think this next game is going to be a little more goaltending showing, so I'm going to take the under on the 5.5.
Nice.
Similar. I took the same game. I'm going under. It was DraftKings was +105. So I mean, they're all about the same for the under 5.5. I'm going to take Panthers money line here. I think they'll kind of keep their head right, and Bobrovsky's going to get it right. So it's money lines +120. So I think they're going to go back to Paradise, Florida, wherever they play.
Sunrise.
Florida. They're going to go back. They're going to steal one from the Golden Knights. So tomorrow night, that'll be good. So we're gonna go ahead and close out the show here.
I got one more.
We got one.
I got some goodies for the speakeasy.
Oh,
So there's a few things in there, Mr. Tom. So if
okay.
you can have some additions for the.
Oh, very good. You
the-
want me to open it?
Yeah, you can
okay.
pull. There's like I said, I think 3 or 4 different things in there, so you go one at a time. So
Do you have any room in there?
I will make room. I will make room.
That's a 4th of July hat from one of the years.
Oh, nice.
They gave to the umpires. So
what size is that?
7 1/8.
Oh, that'll fit Ryan.
got that.
Oh. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Oh,
I know where this is going. Oh, yes.
Put that up in
Got
the rafters for you.
Oh, it's going in the Speakeasy VIP column.
Does that one have Jim Joyce's signature on it?
That's your.
There's 2 more things.
There's more. Oh shit.
Hey, get to the bottom of the bag, man.
Okay.
There's just a bunch of little extras.
We got a California League ball.
Put that on
the All right.
Yeah,
on the shelf.
We'll get a stand for that.
And there's one just from one of the Michigan half Ironmans.
Oh,
so
sweet.
Have some kicking off the new segment. It was a pleasure to share that with you guys.
Dude.
That's awesome.
Whatnot,
That's gonna
I'm
gonna put a nice special place for that. Thank you,
For
Matt.
sure. Yeah,
That's
absolutely, man.
awesome.
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
Man, that blows me away. Thank you so much.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate
Oh,
that.
Absolutely,
get the
guys.
Kleenex out.
Well, hey, and that's the point of this segment.
Get the Kleenex out, man. Get
It's
the Kleenex out.
Absolutely.
It's okay to show emotion.
It is.
Rich teases me all the time because, I mean, I
don't consider it teasing. It's not teasing. It's called toughening you up a little bit. It's to toughen you up a little bit.
But it's a byproduct of growing up with 3 sisters. I have a sensitive side, and it comes out. It comes out, and it is who I am.
Yeah,
it is who I am,
and that is okay.
It is okay. That is okay. And
I
don't care what you say, Rich Jasper. So we're gonna go to you first, tough guy. Closing thoughts. What do you got to say before we end this thing tonight?
You had to call me. That's funny. No, closing thoughts. This is a new segment on the show, and I think it was long overdue. And it kind of parlayed into. Remember my. I was going to start up another cast or whatever, just kind of about exactly what Matt talked about. It's roads never taken, right? It's kind of one of those things is what the theme of that was going to be, and I think that that hit it right on the head. If I had more time, I probably would have started up something like that, but I don't have time. I barely have time to get on here on Sundays, but no, I mean, I think it was. It's very good to allow people to tell their story, and everybody has one, right? And I was glad that he was able to come and share it with us, and it's a very motivating and a very enlightening story about overcoming things and pursuing dreams.
Absolutely, and I think the goal here is if we can, reach out to one person. And if one person decides that what they hear tonight or in the next segments that we'll have, that they need to do something to change their life, then our job is done.
Yep.
JP, what are your closing thoughts tonight?
Yeah, I'm just going to piggyback off what Rich said. Matt, thanks for coming out and accepting some of my foolery. And these guys know how I am. But it's cool. I think it's cool to have a different segment. We want to continue to do some different stuff and look forward to having some different people on and getting different perspectives and maybe branching off of just everyday sports.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all come from different walks. We all have different experiences. And to be able to, branch out and tell our stories and have people come in and tell their stories, I think that just shows you where our growth has come. And I think the end result is we're going to be better men for it. We're going to be better fathers. JP's a new father. How old is the little one now?
She's a month.
She's a month. So, so we're getting to see the evolution of JP before our eyes, which is really cool. So, and Rich,
she hasn't tried to smother you in your sleep yet?
No, not yet.
And
she's a little, she doesn't really know what's going on yet, but she'll figure it out one day.
Yes, she will. She will. And Rich has got 2 boys, the teenagers, and there's trials and tribulations involved with that. I've got 2 teenage stepdaughters, and there's a whole lot of trials and tribulations with that. So I think the end result is we're all going to be better for it. So again, Matt, thank you so much, and thank you for the gifts. This is overwhelming. I cannot wait to get them hanging and posting them up and to be proud. I'm proud of it. That's awesome, man. Thank you so much. But moving on, next week we'll be back. Maybe the Tigers will be doing some different things. I'm sure we'll hear a little bit more about the Lions, where they're going to go. Will DeAndre Hopkins sign? Who knows? Will he go to Cleveland? I don't think he comes to Detroit, but that's a whole nother story. And the NBA and NHL Finals, will they be done? Maybe not. So we'll be talking about that. But again, Matt, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody out there for watching, and we will see you guys next week.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Easy Speak at Speakeasy 330. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You can also catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We look forward to catching you right back here next week for another fun-filled episode of Easy Speak at Speakeasy 330.